Hi, I'm Diane Kometa, and today on Dishin with Di, I'm going to show you how to make shortbread cookies. These are buttery cookies that are delicious served plain, sprinkled with sugar, or with a glaze or melted chocolate. So let's get started on Dishin with Di. Shortbread cookies are really classic, old-fashioned cookies, and they are so simple to make. They only have a few ingredients, and they don't even have any eggs in them. So what we need to do first is get either a stand mixer or a hand mixer, and I have my stand mixer here fitted with a paddle attachment. Now, the first ingredient I have is some softened, unsalted butter, and you can see this is really very soft. It's at room temperature, and I'm just going to take this and put this into my mixing bowl. And then we're going to add in a little bit of salt. Now this is a fine sea salt, and salt is really important because it helps to bring out the flavor. So even in our baked goods, we want some salt in there. Now the next thing is sugar, and in this case I'm going to use some confectioners sugar. So that's powdered sugar, and what you want to do is just kind of loosen it up in your bin and then pour it right into your measuring cup just like this, and then take a knife and just take the back of it and then level that off, and then put that into your mixing bowl just like that. So I'm just going to grab a little bit more here. You just don't want it to be all packed down in there. And just dump that into your bowl, and then go ahead and turn your mixer on medium-low speed and let this cream together for about 2 minutes until it's nice and smooth and creamy. Now I'm just going to give my bowl a little scrape just to make sure everything has been mixed through thoroughly. Especially with the stand mixer, you have to make sure you get everything from the bottom of these bowls. And then we're going to go ahead and add in some extra flavor, which is some pure vanilla extract. And vanilla extract gives these a really nice flavor. And then I'm just going to go ahead and mix this through until it's combined. Okay, that's done. And now the last thing to go in is our flour. So this couldn't be simpler. So just get your flour and loosen it up in your bin, and then get your measuring cup and go ahead and spoon it right into the measuring cup until it comes well up over the top of the cup, and then use that back of the knife again and level that off, and then take that and dump it into your mixture. And then just go again, fill it up, and in we go. And then I'm just going to turn this mixer on and mix this just until all the flour disappears and it's combined. Now the dough is all mixed through, and I've scraped the sides of the bowl, and you can see it's kind of soft, but that's okay because we're going to refrigerate this. So you need to have some plastic wrap. So take a piece of plastic wrap and put that on your counter, and then just take your dough and put that right in the plastic wrap. And then get that and kind of shape it into the disc, just like that. And then just fold up the plastic wrap, and then just pop this right in your fridge for about an hour or until it gets firm. And then we're gonna get ready to roll this out. Preheat your oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit and put your rack in the center position. Then line 2 baking sheets with parchment paper and just set those aside. My dough is nice and firm now, and I've lightly floured my work surface, and I have a rolling pin that I've also lightly floured. So now I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to put it onto my lightly floured work surface. I'm just going to put a little bit of flour on the top of my dough, and now I'm going to roll this out to about 1/4 inch thick. So starting at the center, I'm going to pull the dough towards me, and then I'm just going to keep moving the dough around to make sure that it doesn't stick. Now, if it starts to crack around the edges, just kind of push that back together. Reflour the surface lightly, and also reflour your pin as you're going along to make sure it doesn't stick. But just get the dough so that it's kind of even all the way across the top. Run your hand over it, and if it feels like there's a high spot, then go ahead and roll that and kind of even things out a bit. Then make sure you have a little bowl with some extra flour in it, and that's for our little cutters. So now you just want to dip your cutter right into the flour, and this is so that it doesn't stick to the dough. And then tap it off so you don't have too much flour on there, and then take the cutter and press it straight down into the dough. Try to get as close to the edge as possible because you don't want to waste any of the dough. Try to keep your little shapes as close together as possible with as little waste as possible. Peel away any of the excess dough and move all of your cookies over to your baking sheet. I like to have a little thin spatula available so that if any of the cookies seem like they're kind of stuck to the counter, what I do is put a little bit of flour right on it, just like that, and then I kind of just shimmy it just a little bit underneath of my cookie, and then that way I can just put it right onto my baking sheet with no problem. You can add a little bit of decorative sprinkles if you'd like. If you try to put any kind of sugar or anything on them after they're already cooked, it's not going to stick, unless of course you have a glaze or you have a chocolate coating on them, which is what I plan on doing. So you want to bake your cookies 350 degrees Fahrenheit on the center rack for 11 to 13 minutes until they're lightly golden brown around the edges. Then you want to take them out, let them sit on the baking sheet for 3 to 5 minutes until they have a chance to set, and then you're going to remove them and put them onto a cooling rack to cool completely before you go ahead and decorate them with the glaze or some melted chocolate. Place about 2 inches of water into a small pot and bring that to a low simmer, and then place a bowl over top of that. You don't want the bowl to actually touch the water. And then I have some semi-sweet chocolate in there broken into pieces, and I'm just going to melt that. I'm going to stir it occasionally until it's nice and smooth. In this bowl, I have some confectioner sugar and I have a little bit of water. So I'm going to make a glaze. And then you just take a spoon and you just stir it around. And it might not look like it's going to turn into a glaze, but just keep stirring it until it thins out. And then if you have to add a little bit more water, but you don't want to add too much to start with because then it'll be really watery. Okay, so you just want it to be pouring consistency. My chocolate is melted and I just transferred it to a smaller bowl, and now I'm going to take one of my cookies and tilt it over this bowl and just take the chocolate and spoon it over half of the cookie, just like this. Let that chocolate kind of drip off back into the bowl. If the chocolate starts to seem like it's getting like a little bit too solid, like it's cooling off, then pop it in the microwave for a few seconds until it loosens back up again. And then you could put it onto a piece of parchment paper, and that's a used piece of parchment paper that I had on my baking sheet when I baked my cookies. So now you can decorate them further if you'd like, and go ahead and put some little sprinkles on top, just like I did here, or some little nonpareils. And then with the glaze, you do the same thing. And they're also really delicious on their own. They're perfect with a cup of tea. So let me just break one open so you can see what it looks like inside. Look at all of the little layers. Those little pockets are from the butter. When that melts, it leaves little air pockets, and that makes the cookie nice and tender and light and delicious. They're so buttery, perfect with a cup of tea. You don't have to decorate them if you don't want to, because they are just delicious just like this. But they're perfect any time of year, and they're similar to my sugar cookies. You might like those too. Everything is on my website. I have lots of classic cookie recipes, dishinwithdi.com, and I hope I made your life a little easier, more enjoyable, and delicious. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.